Hello everyone. Today I was going to teach you how to make two ways of making cooked rice. There is one method that is followed for traditions from generations to generations. When we didn't have rice cooker or Instapot or anything fancy, this is how we basically did rice, especially down south. I don't know how they did not up north, but in South India, we use this little pot, which is specific. It has a curvature in such a way that it's easy to drain out the water. We have different kinds of rice, and pretty much all have the same system. So nothing different. This one we use plenty of water. Okay, and you basically boil the water, throw in the rice, and let it cook and do a test, and then drain out through this plate. It has holes on it. You can use a pasta drainer as well, or a colander. Dump everything into it and your rice will be done. I have 2 cups of rice soaking. This is a short grain rice, Sona Masuri. You could use any rice for that matter. Just wash them a couple of times and make sure the cloudy starch is gone, and let it sit until you boil your water. So let me turn on the stove and then explain the other one. So I do have an Instapot and I have a rice cooker and all that gadget, but it takes a lot of counter space. This one is instant also. It takes pretty much the same time as your Instapot, and I don't have to wait for the pressure to go down and all. The other method is directly pouring water. Like if I have 2 cups of rice, I will pour 4 cups of water and let it boil, and then add the soaked rice and cook in it. It takes about roughly 10 to 15 minutes for it to come to a full boil again, and then I put a foil and lower the heat and let it sit. I'm going to teach you right after I do this one. First, let's focus on how to do this rice. So the stove is on. We're going to wait till the water boils, and then we'll add the rice, and I'll show you how to do it as we proceed. While the water is boiling, I wanted to share that I basically started making YouTube videos for my young adult kids who are all in college, and sometimes I know they may run into life's issues where they want to eat a meal, or they're going to call me and say, Mom, how do I make this? How do I make that? So I thought, let me put it in a video, and then decided to make it public because there are other kids who are at college and who want to try something different or new, and who will want to know how to make basic cooking. So here it is. It's been like 4 minutes. The water is still not at the point, so we'll just wait for it to come to a nice rolling boil and add the soaked rice. The water is finally boiling. It took about 5 minutes. So once this is done, some people add salt to this water, like a half a teaspoon, just so it'll season the whole rice. But I don't, because my curries, everything has enough salt. So we just drain out our rice. Separate the water out, drain it, and then we're gonna add the rice into the pot. Okay. All right, and then give a stir immediately so the rice doesn't stick to each other, and everything is moving freely. And now you just wait and for about 5 to 6 minutes, and we'll check and see if our rice is done. This method is good for any long grain or short grain rice. If you're making fried rice and all that, just make sure the rice is just perfectly done, al dente. But if you're using it for Indian curries, it could get really well done. If you want to make yogurt rice and anything, then you need a mushy rice. Then you let it sit to cook for a longer time, so the rice gets a bit mushy and your yogurt rice is yummy. Okay, if you're making any puliogara or lemon rice or any rice like that, then you have to pull it out a little early so you can have nice loose beautiful rice which is not sticking to each other. Okay, so I put the lid on. You don't really need to. It's going to froth up and become messy if you don't watch it. So at one point the bubbles will come up to the surface and overflow. At that time you're going to turn down the heat and let it further cook. So this is what happens. So you lower the heat and take the lid off. See how it's boiling? Let it cook on a little low heat. So my rice is almost done. Now and then when you check it, you just pull out some and test between your fingers and see if it is done. So press it between your fingers. There shouldn't be no resistance. That means your rice is done. I have all set up to drain the water in my sink. Some people do it over the counter. I have all my kitchen sink sanitized and ready. I will keep a bowl and then drain out the liquid. Be careful, it's hot, so turn off the stove and get your plate back on and face it in such a direction that the water is easy to drain out. So this is how my setup looks. Be careful when you do this. Have a nice table, flat bottom dish at the bottom, and have a cup or something to hold this whole setup in place, so you're not holding it the entire time. About 6 to 8 minutes, okay? And your water will be completely drained, and then you remove it and the rice is ready to go. So my rice is finally drained. I pulled it out of my sink. Remember, it was draining out. And make sure you always use a wet spoon. You don't want a dry one, then it'll all stick. And see, the rice is done perfectly well. Good to be served right away. So plate it and serve it with some curry. And we're good to go. Thank you for watching.